Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Yeah, sorry it's been a while since I've made a video, so I'm a little bit out of sync with the video production, video editing and everything else, but let's crack on. For today I'm going to be talking to you about how to kind of future-proof your career opportunities and your side gigs and stuff. Now, it's no surprise we live in a rapidly changing world. AI is cutting through so many jobs. I'm not going to get into kind of politics and different economies and stuff. I want to stay sort of focused on the tech side of things. So I've got some stuff in front of me, and some of it I know already, but I'm going to be talking to you about how you can best mitigate some of the risks and navigate your way around this kind of maze which we all find ourselves in as digital marketeers and stuff. So look, the reality is, like, AI is changing the job market. A lot of the jobs you see on Indeed now, I'm based in the UK, so that's like one of the main job sites. Employers are asking for lots of experience, which I believe many people don't actually have, especially those who haven't worked in marketing for a long time. It's a common problem that regardless of the sector, a lot of employees are finding it more and more difficult to find the right staff with the right skills who live in the right area, etc, etc, etc. Now, with regard to like the skill set for AI and digital marketing and stuff, a lot of the jobs are asking for 2 to 3 years experience because they can't find people with sort of 10 to 15 years experience, believe it or not, because they're much older people, well, not necessarily much older, but they're older people, maybe in their 40s. They might be more than likely are well settled into a good job, or they've made money already, so they're having to kind of lower the threshold on their wish list of what they're looking for. But look, like I said, there's all kinds of software that's been launched, not just AI software as well, and it's happening at breakneck stroke lightning speed. It's quite scary, really, to be honest. So there's like opportunity there, but there's also like risk. Now, how do you find these contracts? Well, there's a myriad of job sites. I think I made a video last year about this, and I put in the description of some of the job sites which you could look at if you are looking to find like a hybrid stroke remote job, where employers advertise from inside the UK and also from outside the UK, and there must be about 20 of them. I'll try and dig that out, and maybe I'll try and find a way to put that in the description somehow and compact it down into one link or something. So leave that with me. Look, you just got to look around. If you're looking in the same places now, I'm aware I've got subscribers from different countries, India, Indonesia, Australia, Italy, Spain, US, Canada, etc, etc. So it's quite widespread. The people who subscribe to my channel are all from one area, but depending on the region that you live in, each region has got its kind of top 10 job sites and stuff, and if you're looking for remote work specifically or hybrid work where maybe you have to go into the office once a month, I quite like that setup, because you got the best of both worlds. It's kind of more in your favor. You can work from home, you can work from cafes, you can work from hotels, you can work from abroad in some cases, maybe just pop into the office once a month. That's the perfect setup, actually, because then you can do these kind of mini European trips if you're based in the UK or in Europe, and you can just drop into the London office or the Birmingham office or wherever it is once a month. It's absolutely perfect. Some companies want you to drop into the office every week, which is a bit more restrictive, so you can't kind of go far and wide if that's the case. But there's plenty of these jobs about. A lot of the employers aren't all British, by the way. A lot of them are based in the States or in India, Australia, Dubai, Middle East. So it's quite widespread. You've just got to shop around and find the right sites, and maybe upload your CV and reformat it. I'll tell you a good site. It's called enhancecv.com. It's not free. It's I think it's about 20. Well, wait, the prices have probably gone up. They do a quarterly plan, which is about 45 quid per quarter, something like that. So it works out about approximately £16.99 sterling per month, but they bill you for it quarterly, and that will allow you to kind of put together your CV in a 2-page format, all nicely done with like a bit of, when I say nicely done, a lot better than the free templates you'll see on Microsoft Office or Kingsoft Office, which is now being rebranded WPS Office. So there's a lot of these free platforms. I just mentioned those two. There's many others that have these kind of CV libraries where you can edit your CV. It's a bit hit and miss because you have to spend a hell of a lot of time on it, going through, it's easy to make one mistake and then you'll kind of wipe out a whole table, and then you might find you're spending like a lot more time on it than what you planned. Whereas if you use like Enhance CV, as I say, it's a paid platform, it's all set up, it's very user friendly. You just tap your details in and it kind of formats it for you, and you can drag and drop the different sections around. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people have had success with that, whether maybe their CV's been too long, or it's looked too boring or too dull or too old-fashioned, or whatever it might be. It's going to be different in every case. Or maybe it hasn't hit the ATS benchmark. That's a applicant tracking system, because when you apply for a job nowadays, a lot of these, especially with bigger employers, we get hundreds of CVs. So what they do is they whack it through this applicant tracking system software where they scan your CV, and that picks out certain keywords that might be relevant to the task, and that's their way of shortlisting and simplifying the process, because it's not realistic for them to have somebody looking at the CVs, going through 1,000 CVs. It just takes too much time. So we use applicant tracking software. It's different types, but so check out Enhanced CV. That's quite it costs a bit of money, but 9 times out of 10 it pays off. Not straight away, but when employers get that, they'll immediately see that it stands a little bit a cut above the rest. There's no branding on it and stuff. So yeah, check that out. Right, skills AI cannot replicate. So what you need to be doing is, like, everyone's trying to do the same thing, as I've mentioned on all the videos, and maybe that's the mistake. If not, maybe that's definitely the mistake. What you need to be doing is you need to be looking at how you can reposition yourself. So look at the kind of weak spots of AI, the things that AI can't do, and try and push yourself forward in that area. There are a number of different areas that AI, same to debate a little bit, AI can or can't do well. One of them is like custom videos. So yes, there's plenty of sites around where you can type in a prompt and AI will kind of make a generic video based on your prompt and stuff. But if I told AI to make a video of my face saying everything that I want to say now, including unpredictable things like me sort of holding up that pen, AI wouldn't be able to do that. So focus on things like that. Focus on things like sustainability marketing. That's very popular in places like China, also growing in the UK. A lot of these bigger employers, they're struggling to, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but they're having more pressure applied on them to align with, greener policies and to please their investors and their stakeholders and stuff. So sustainability marketing, more ethical practices basically. Also focus on, other stuff like, yeah, I'm going to put all this in the description because there's just too much of it to reel off, and I want to keep the video quite short. But there's plenty of areas where you can focus or repurpose your energy, your vision, and your skills and stuff. Because if you're just trying to learn all about the different AI platforms and stuff, maybe you're going to struggle unless you're helping to kind of integrate the AI sort of tech stack, because that's another area that employers struggle with. Some do, some don't, but it's surprising how many employers, maybe they're held back by budget, maybe they're held back by management stakeholders, or haven't got the staff, but because there's so many of these apps and platforms and AI software out there. You know, a lot of employers, companies, could be employed, might not be an employer, but a lot of companies struggle to kind of integrate that into their kind of deeper systems. So if you can become a bit of an expert in that, you know, that would definitely require you to know about the different types of AI, and there's hundreds of them, by the way. A lot of people think it's just ChatGPT or Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, but there's hundreds of different types of AI that all do different things. You know, it's like I said, it's a great opportunity, but it's a bit scary, and it is impacting the jobs market. You know, I've got my it's not coffee, it's water. It's scorching hot outside. I thought it'd make a good day to make a video. Okay, so look, there's obviously key industries in different regions: UK, Europe, US, Asia, Middle East and stuff. So that's another way to kind of look at how you can reposition yourself. Look at which industries are growing, and then look, you know, a bit deeper down on a bit of a sub level. You know, are they effectively integrating AI into their deeper systems, company-wide systems? Are they doing sustainability marketing? What areas do they do or do they need to do, which, you know, AI specifically can't do or can't do well? Because let's be honest, AI can't do everything. So if you're looking to repurpose your career and just kind of pivot things slightly, that's definitely what you need to do. So the Asian and Indian tech boom. Now we all know, especially I've got loads of subscribers from India, you know, there's loads of technology businesses in India, in the big cities, especially in the north. So a lot of the jobs are there. You know, also in like China and Korea and Japan, a lot of the jobs are kind of robotics, and you know, they lead in robotics and all that, you know, factory processing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, look, so it's a massive subject. I could waffle on for ages. I'm just looking for, I've got a bit of stuff in front, I'm just looking through it now, scanning through it. I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to read all this out. I'm going to chuck it in the description and you can read through it in your own time. What I would encourage you to do is just to take stock of what you actually need, because, you know, whilst there's hundreds of platforms out there, you're not going to need hundreds of platforms, maybe not even 100, to achieve the company goals and the revenue goals that you want to achieve, either as a consultant or as a company straight business. You know, just look at what you need to do. And maybe, you know, there are some things maybe you don't do at the moment, which you could do. You know, I personally think there's too much social media. There's too many platforms. I was printed off some stuff this morning. I got in front of me. You know, so there's various platforms that are launched, like a platform called Indigo, launched on the 11th of May, 2026, that is this year. It's about cross-posts to Mastodon and Bluesky. So for those of you who don't know, there's a kind of competitors to Twitter, or it's now called X. I've never used Mastodon. Well, I've tried it, but I didn't enjoy using Mastodon. I'll phrase it like that. I've had a bit of a dabble with Bluesky again. Yeah, it's an interesting platform. It's open source. It's a bit like X, but it's not as scaled and developed as X. It hasn't got as many people on the subscribe to the platform, and also, yeah, it's still developing. I'm not rubbishing it. I'm just saying that hasn't been around for as long as Twitter / X. So, you know, but yeah, check that out. It's called Indigo. What else? So there's another company called Status AI. It's raised $72 million. Dollars, that is, not pounds, still quite a bit, and they're hoping to launch like a kind of gamified social media experience. This is what I mean, there's too many of these platforms around, and they're always launching different countries, slightly different angles, slightly different niches, slightly different perspectives. I just think there's too many of them. I mean, one day I wouldn't be surprised if there's a massive consolidation of these platforms, and, you know, they all get bought up by other platforms and, you know, amassed into 2, 3, or maybe there'll be a big 4 or something. There's way too many social media platforms. So Meta has launched a platform called Forum, which aims to be a bit like Reddit, where, you know, members can discuss, you know, community tech posts and debate certain topics and stuff. So that's called Forum, launched by Meta, the owners of Facebook and Instagram. So something interesting here, like VisibleFirst, they've launched a free WordPress plugin, get my words out right, Ian, for AI search visibility. You see, that's a growing thing, Because like in the past, it was all about traditional SEO, you know, keyword research and ranking in Google. But obviously with the emergence of what's called LLMs, large language models, so like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, etc., there's now this need, or need is the best word I can think of, to you know, have your content recommended to those platforms, because you know more than 50% of people are using chatbots, so AI chatbots, so large language models and stuff like that. So you know, if your business, company, product, service, brand, whatever it is not being recommended to show up in those AI search results, then you're missing out on a huge amount of traffic. And you know, this is quite a new thing. It's been the AI search thing has been for about 18 months, something like that. But you know, it's starting to scale up. You know, a lot of companies are getting wise to this, and they're launching products to help you feature and get recommended on these platforms. So there's a few more actually, but that's a plugin, so it's like a WordPress plugin. There's some more as well. I don't know if I've got them in front of me. I don't know if I have. Oh yeah, I have. Hang on. So there's a few more. So Adobe LLM Optimizer Chrome extension. Yeah, you might want to check that out. Yoast SEO AI. That's like another plugin. And then you got dedicated AI visibility platforms. So mix of browser extensions and dashboards. So one's called Peak AI, Profound AI, I've mentioned that one in previous videos, and SE Visible. Yeah, so look, it's a growing thing, and you know, in the years ahead there'll be more of these companies that launch, because you know, obviously there'll be more AI, there'll be more chatbots, and as it scales, you know, there'll be more demand for, you know, companies to want and need to be featured and you know, have their results come up in AI search. I mean, I totally understand that, you know, a lot of companies have held off on this because they've kind of wanted to wait until it develops a bit more, but it's not going anywhere. It's just going to develop more and more and more. So look, that's that. I'll put all this in the description. It's an interesting subject, isn't it? How, you know, these, a bit like everything else in life, it all changes. Nothing stays the same. So it's important to just kind of keep your finger on the pulse, stay ahead of the curve. You know, like when I make these videos, you know, try and pick a different topic every time. Yeah, I've got some stuff in front of the screen, but I know a lot of it myself. You know, you can probably tell by the way I'm talking. But I'll put all the links and stuff in the description. Have a look through, have a good read in context with the actual video, and yeah, you know, good luck with it. See what you think. You know, it's definitely a way or a thing which, you know, individuals, consultants, you know, marketing people, companies, brands of all types, you know, are going to have to get on board with sooner or later if they're not already. Otherwise, they'll just get left behind. So thank you very much for watching. It's a lovely day outside today, so I'm going to keep the video short, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.